This is the River Solar Generator by ecoflow. And if you're watching this video, you probably already are interested in what I have to say. So stick around and I'll tell you guys all about it. Alright guys, if you're watching this video, chances are you've already done a little bit of research and have figured out what kind of solar generator you want to get. You've honed in on a couple of them and you're just looking for a little bit more validation to help you trigger or make a decision on which one you want to get. So I can't really dazzle you with facts and figures. I'm not a super scientific person, but what I can do is tell you why I picked the ecoflow river and what kind of led me up to that. So here we go. So when my wife and I first started camping, one of the main reasons we did wasn't so much because we enjoyed the outdoors. It was a way for us to vacation in places that we really couldn't afford, especially both of us being young, not having very high paying jobs, having 2 young kids and all the expenses that are involved in raising a family. We just couldn't pull it off. We might be able to scrape the money together to go down and get a hotel room or a condo for a couple of nights. But that would be it. We would have no money to do anything else. And so it was very economical for us to look at staying at campgrounds surrounding those areas, and the money that we saved, we could actually go out and vacation and enjoy those areas as a family. So that's how it started. Now, eventually, over time, that led to more of just a love of the outdoors and wanting to actually camp and exploring all these, really cool and beautiful places. And what we would do, as you guys probably do, is, we find a really cool campground or state park, and while we're driving through looking for a place to set up our own campsite, we would take note of all the campsites that we would want to stay at when we return, maybe because they have a lot of trees and we could put hammocks up, or maybe it was close to the water, so, the kids could run down and swim, and, we could see them right from the campsite, and we would mark them down. And then when we would look to return to these places and we would go online to reserve, what we found was that those sites were reserved all year long. As long as they could be reserved, they were reserved. And a lot of times, even if they were walk-in only, people were there so early to get them that you really didn't stand a chance. Which, it's fine, man. That's just the way it goes. The early bird gets the worm, right? So one thing we happened to notice is that, especially in the summer and the fall, was tent only and primitive sites, most part, totally unoccupied. And a lot of times those sites were far better than the pull-in sites and the ones that, we wanted to be able to reserve. They just lack that one thing that you got to have in the fall and the summer, and that is electricity. You can bring in water and drive to the shower houses and the restrooms, or ride your bike to them. But electricity, you really got to have some fans in the summertime. And that kind of got me to thinking, well, I need a way to power stuff. And I started looking at power stations. And, keep in mind, this process took me a few years to come to this. I started looking at power stations. For the most part, they were pretty expensive and didn't offer very much bang for the buck. And then about 2 years ago, I come across this YouTube channel. There's this guy named Hobotech. Kind of nutty professor looking guy, but very smart, knows his stuff, and puts these power stations, these what they call solar generators, as I've come to find out, or giant flashlights, to the test. And you know, he really does put them through the ringer. And sometimes he burns them up, you know, just trying to see how well they work. And I'm grateful for that, because it's not my money getting wasted. But anyway, a couple of names kept popping up. Jackery, the other was Blue Eddy. Now, at the time, this was, I think, in a Kickstarter. It hadn't really been released to the general public yet, and actually, it got a little bit of bad press when it first came out. A lot of people got them and tried to, you know, sell them and push an affiliate link with them, and they weren't fully tested yet. I think when they sent them out to be tested, they were really looking for feedback, and they did get feedback, but some of the stuff was a little bit messed up, so they had to go back to the drawing board. Now, the stuff that's out now is looks like it's all up to spec and running right, and the beta versions that were sent out, you'll know them because they actually have this kind of light blue handle at the top as opposed to this kind of metallic one. So, you know, I don't know if you want to steer clear of those or not, but those are definitely the oldest ones. And I think the only people that got those were people who were in on the Kickstarter. But anyway, I'm veering off course here. So the names Jackery and Blue Eddy kept popping up, and I like the Jackery ones. I think that first I was looking at the 300 and I was looking at the 500. There was a couple of drawbacks though. One, they didn't seem to have very fast charge times. There was a proprietary jack that you had to use if you wanted to use a solar panel with it, which wasn't a deal breaker for me, because a solar panel was something that I planned on adding on later. Still plan to with this, but you know, I just don't have the money, and I haven't done the research yet to make that step. Blue Eddy kept popping up also. And so I was kind of fixated on those for a while. One of those two was going to be my purchase. I like the Blue Eddy because it had wireless charging, and it had a much better information display. But it didn't, or at least at the time, I don't know if they do now. I think they're planning on something a little bit better, but at the time, they didn't have anything that was like 500, like a 500 watt inverter. I think they had something that was like a 7 or an 8. But I don't know if they stopped selling it, but you could never find it, and it was really expensive. When you get into their top of the line stuff, you know, I don't think anybody could touch them. But their stuff in the price range I was looking at, you know, it wasn't worth it. So I started looking around at alternatives, and I come across this right here. And eventually, this became available to the public, and I started taking a hard look at it. And what I liked about it was the fact that I think it's got a 600 watt inverter that can bump up to 12 or 1800 watts. It does some kind of mathematical voodoo to be able to run that. It won't run everything that requires like 12 or 1800 watts. And it does something where it like kind of lowers the voltage. So if it's something where you can adjust the voltage down, or it can take less volts without shutting off, you know, it'll power it. But there's other stuff where it requires like a constant draw, or it just won't operate at all, then, you know, it's not going to work. But it is good up to 600, no problems there. Doesn't decrease the voltage, as I understand it. But so as I was looking at this, a few things started popping out. First of all, almost all the ports produce more power than the Jackery or the Blue Eddy. In the similar price ranges. The other thing was that it's expandable. So you can, you know, you can actually unbolt the bottom here and bolt in an expansion battery. An expansion battery will double the watt hours on it. I think it goes to like 576 watt hours, which is pretty good. So, you know, this cost me about $300. I have an Amazon, or I had an Amazon coupon that popped up with it. I think it was normally like $340, and the coupon brought it down to just under $300. and they pop up all the time. If I want the expansion battery, that'll cost me about another $2. So for $500, I could have got the Jackery 500, somewhere around in there, and it would have had really slow charge time, not a very good information display, no fast charging, no fast charging port, no way to really change all the bells and whistles, and I like to tinker with stuff. So, that I started kind of losing my interest in the Jackery. So I kept coming back to this right here, and I mean, your information display here, it'll tell you your battery percentage. It will tell you exactly how long you can run it, how many hours you got left, your input watts and your output watts, which almost all of them will tell you what's coming in, what's going out. But not very many of them will tell you exactly your battery percentage and exactly how much time you can run the devices you have plugged into it. So, that's another reason why I've done it. Now, one of the things that I was worried about is the overall lifespan of the unit. So as I understand it, the faster something charges, the lower the lifespan. I think it just messes up the batteries. It depletes them to charge something really fast. And also, charging it all the way to 100% seems to cause a problem and reduces the lifespan of these solar generators. So since this thing charges so fast, I was concerned because, when you charge these up, I think it said it can do like 500 cycles of being charged, and then it won't go charge any more than 80%, which still isn't bad, but you're still losing 20%. But what I found out is this has an app, and the app connects to it, and you can change all that stuff in there. You can change how much of a charge, where it tops off at, whether it be at 85, 90, 95, 100%. For those times when you just need all the juice you can get. Same thing with charge time. You can turn off the fast charging on this and make it charge regular. And I guess in theory, that's going to make it last a whole lot longer. But they give you that option. It's not just something you got to deal with one way or another, whether you like it or not. You can go in and physically change those. You can do all that through the app. You can control the display. You can check all the information that you see on the display on your phone. You can control the timeout on the display, make it stay on, or you can make it turn off. The light that comes with the expansion battery, you can change that if you want. You can change the colors, whether it stays on or not. I guess that'd be considered the night light. You can even activate the this flashlight right here, which honestly, and I don't get it. It feels like it's like a running joke in the industry that every solar generator has to have a flashlight on it somewhere. It's all right, but I don't feel like they really need it. I think they just had some extra space and decided to put something there. I would have rather seen another car plug on the other side, but that's just me. But all in all, that's kind of what led me to pick this one right here. Is for an initial $300 investment, I can get the solar generator. It'll do 600 watts. It's got, you can run, if you got a MacBook, it'll power that. You can fast charge your phone with it. It's got 3 plugs on the side. And, later you can expand on it. So, throw another $200 and you got a bigger, beefier generator, instead of having to go out and just buy an entirely new unit. And the option of being able to use the app, go in, switch everything to your liking, dial it in exactly how you want. You can't beat that. With all that being said, let's take a look at some of the things that I'm using in here that I'm running, and you can see if it kind of lines up with the things you might need it for. So most of the stuff that I use when I camp is going to be fans and to be able to power up an air mattress. Now this little fan right here, I did a review on it a few years back, and it's been with me on every camping trip since then. It just pushes out a ton of air. The only problem is that it chews through batteries left and right. And I mean, it'll lay waste to some D batteries, and they won't make it through a weekend. Usually toward the end of the weekend, they're starting to putter out. So, but it also runs on AC, so I can run that with the ecoflow over here. And as you can see, I can get 21, 24 hours, depending on what the actual number is. We'll just go with the lowest with 21 hours. And, you know, that'll last me, you know, pretty much all weekend long. You know, it's not going to be running all the time, but definitely when I'm sleeping, it'll be running. And as you can see, I got power to burn. This is my USB powered ceiling fan. And I got this off of Amazon. I think it was like 15 bucks. And it's got 3 blades on it. They break down so you can pack it all into one little box. It's got a nice long USB cord on it, and it actually circulates air very well. I think there's an 8-foot ceiling on this tent, and I'm on the air mattress. I can feel this air blowing all around me. Now, you could call it glamping or call it whatever you want, but I call it being comfortable, and I don't foresee me going camping without this anytime soon. And the really cool thing is that it will run for at least 33 hours, according to the readout there. If you're wanting to run a house fan, you can pull that off no problem with the ecoflow. I got my house floor fan here, and even at 63%, I can run this for 6 hours. So, you know, 95, 100%, I should be able to run this for 10 hours straight. This is my big queen size air mattress. Thing's a monster, and I aired it up with this right here. It's a 120 volt Coleman air pump, and when I was running it on the ecoflow, it said I could run that for about 1 hour and 20 minutes, which, you know, obviously you're not going to run one for 1 hour and 20 minutes, but it's kind of cool that that you can do that. So we're going to do just a really quick overview here, and I'll run through all the little features that are pretty obvious. Got our display here, obviously, and it has just about all the information you could ever want. Input, output, battery percentage, remaining hours. We have our button right here, which actually turns on the Wi-Fi hotspot, or lets you communicate and connect your app to the device. You have your flashlight, low, high, and SOS. USB-C, I think this was made specifically to run MacBooks, because it's 100 watts. So, you know, you could definitely power a MacBook with it. You have 2 USB-As that are for standard charging, and then you have 1 USB fast charge. You also have your DC plug here, and you also have these 2 little DC power ports. I'm not sure what you would use these for. I'm sure there's something that'll plug into them, but it escapes me right now what you would use it for. On the right side, we have our 3 AC plugs, and your fan right here to cool down the unit. It's important you don't block that. This is going to run when you charge it, and whenever you're running your AC outlet. I think it would probably run if you turn on your DC also. Nope, just AC. And on this side, we have the various ways you can charge this. So you have your wall plug, and then we have your plug that you would use for your solar panel or for your car charger to run that. And I know it's probably common. Most people that are into solar probably are very familiar with this, but this reminds me of the connector we used when we would run RC cars for our battery packs. And then of course you have a master reset here. If it ever throws an error code or something happens where it needs to be reset, you have that there. So yeah, just a real quick overview of all the little features, and you know, we'll get back to it. So I touched on this earlier, but now I'll go a little bit more in depth. There's an app that you can get from ecoflow to work with their solar generators, and it's one of the big reasons that I actually went with ecoflow. It lets you not only control the unit itself, but it also lets you control the settings of the unit. So I'll go over that with you real quick. Try and show it to you here on the phone, and you can see what it's about. I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but it's not Bluetooth. It's actually Wi-Fi. So it's pretty good connection. The only bad part that you may run into is if you do happen to be connected to a Wi-Fi network, obviously you'll have to disconnect from that network to connect to the ecoflow to control it. You don't have to be connected to it all the time, but if you want to change any settings, you will have to connect to its network. So it's not a big deal, but I thought I should mention it. So we'll give that a chance to focus there. So when you pull up the app, you see a lot of different information panels here, but you have your power in, which of course there's nothing powering it, and then power out, temperature, battery capacity, time remaining. You also have some different switches here, being able to turn on the light. You can turn on and off the individual panels, the AC and the DC panel. And you have some menus here you can open up. So when we go to AC, you can control a lot of stuff. One is, well, whether it's at 60 or 50 hertz, but also X boost. And X boost is what gives us the ability to run at a much higher wattage than what it's rated for. So like I said, this is supposed to be 600 watts, but it will run up to 12 or 1800 watts. And that's what this whole X boost thing is right here. Like I said, it's some kind of mathematical voodoo, but it's pretty cool. And I actually was able to run my Ninja. It's like kind of like a crock pot. It's like a Ninja cooker. And I know that's 1200 watts. And I was able to run that at like 325 degrees and cook some chicken with it the other night. Pretty much it used up the battery pretty quick. I think about 2 hours, but I might give that another shot and show you guys just so you can see it, but we'll touch on that later. Also, you have battery. So you have your battery setting right here, and you can actually set the maximum charge limit so it doesn't top out at 100%. So, you can drop that down to say, hey, I only want to charge up to 80%. And that's another way that you can add longevity to your solar generator. And then you have these little system settings here. So you can set the standby time to where if there's no activity, it shuts off after so many hours, or you can turn that totally off and just make it to where it stays on as long as there's power in the system. You have your LCD standby time. You can actually take that down to 10 seconds or run it up to 30 minutes. I like this right here. You can turn the sound effects off so you don't have to listen to those beeps every time you touch a button. You can switch between Celsius and Fahrenheit, excuse me. And you have DC mode, which has something to do with solar panels and MPPT charging, I believe. We'll go ahead and check that out. And yeah, so this mode is set to auto by default, which enables the device to automatically detect if the DC port is suitable for MPPT solar charging or normal charging with an adapter. So that's what that is. And then we have firmware version. So you can click on that and you can see the firmware version right here. And what's really neat about this is the fact that anytime they come up with an idea to make this run better, they can push that firmware update to your phone and then you can upload it to your solar generator. So that means you're not stuck with whatever technology is in there. If they find a way to improve it, then you can basically upgrade your system. They'll keep this thing running the best that it can run for as long as they can do that. And I think that's pretty cool. So as you can clearly see, my power requirements pretty much involve keeping cool and blowing up air mattresses. And for that, this is perfect. I don't bring a whole lot of electronics with me when I go camping. But if I need to charge up phone, radio, another power pack, something like that, I could definitely do that. So these little solar generators, especially this one's perfect fit. I can control how this works, and I can expand on it if I need to. So that's why I got the ecoflow river. Now, whether it's a good fit for you, I don't know, but hopefully from watching this video, you got a better idea on whether you want to pick one of these up for yourself, or maybe you want to hold out and pick something else up from, another brand. Either way, thanks for stopping by and checking out my video. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave me a like or a comment down below, and subscribe if you want to see more of this kind of content. With all that being said, I'm Patrick with Uncle Bill's Camping, and I will see you fine people the next time around.